Oh, Vigneswaraya Namaha. Namaste, friends. I am Gurti Vishweswara Rao and already introduced myself in my earlier videos correspond to the chapters in my book. The book's title is Bhagavad Gita, A Commoner's Viewpoint. This video is for chapter 6 of my book and corresponds to Atma Sanyama Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. As in the book, in each video, I am trying to give first a brief account or gist of Bhagavan's message contained in the particular chapter, followed by my own viewpoint expressed again in brief. My point of view is just as understood by me, a commoner amongst multitude of commoners in this world. In this chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna starts his message by explaining to Arjuna that whosoever engages himself in Nishkama Karma, that is, whosoever performs actions, that is, Vihita Karmas or beautiful actions, without expecting any fruits in return, is a true sannyasi or yogi. At the same time, he also cautioned that just a mere renunciation of daily rituals won't qualify a person to be a sannyasi, and just abstaining from all actions won't qualify a person to be a yogi either. In this context, he defines a yoga rodha as a person who frees himself from all his sankalpas, that is, thoughts, and who is disinterested in sensual desires and actions. Here we find a highly significant message from Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this sloka. Udhred atman atmanam, atmanam asadiyet, atmaiva atmano bandhu, atmaiva vipratmanah. Meaning, each individual needs to uplift himself in his life on his own and save himself from a downfall. In this regard, one may become a friend or foe to himself. How he becomes a friend or a foe to himself? Bhagavan explains in this following sloka. Bandhur atmatmanastasya anatmaiva atmanajatha anatmanastu satrutvi vartet atmaiva satruvat. Meaning, to him who has conquered himself, his own self is a friend. That is, his body, mind and indriyas stay with him like a friend. To him who has not conquered himself, his own self becomes hostile. That is, his body, mind and indriyas act like external enemies and put obstacles in his path to reach the supreme goal. Bhagavan continues to define a Jitendriya and Srestha, that is, he defines an accomplished person as a person who exhibits an attitude of equanimity in all times of sorrow or joy and in favorable circumstances or otherwise, and who treats a friend or a foe and a relative or an outsider alike, and who values gold or stone equally. Here Bhagavan has explained about the posture of meditation one needs to practice in order to achieve steadiness and control over himself. That is, one needs to firmly place himself on a clean seat in solitude, desist from all thoughts, keep his mind and senses under control, hold his body, head and neck erect, remain steady, keep his gaze on the tip of his nose without any distraction, keep himself perfectly calm and think only of Paramatma. Bhagavan describes such a yogi in the following sloka. Unjannevam sadatmanam, yogi nita manasa, santi nirvana paramam, asamstha madhicati. Meaning, such a yogi with firm control over his mind, he always concentrates on Paramatma. He experiences infinite peace and Brahmananda, that is eternal bliss. More importantly, Bhagavan also reveals for a person who eats too much or who does not eat at all, or who sleeps too much or who is always awake, yoga is not possible. Bhagavan says to Arjuna that for a practicant in meditation, his mind will be in his control and is firmly rooted in his jhana, that is meditation, like a candle glowing steadily in the absence of air. He clarifies that with self-realization achieved, a blessed soul is unmoved even by the heaviest of sorrows, and the state is known as yoga. Here, a sublime message Bhagavan gives in very clear terms about achievement of such a yoga. It is to be achieved by jhana, that is meditation, Bhagavan says, and this jhana to be carried out with a firm conviction and resolution. In the following sloka, Bhagavan describes the benefits of a person in meditation. Injannevam sadatmanam, yogi vyakta kalmasha, sukhena brahma samsparsyam, achantam sukhamasute. Meaning, such a yogi, freed from sins, enjoys oneness with Paramatma, that is, a confluence of self with the Supreme Self, and attains Brahmananda, that is eternal bliss. Bhagavan continues to say in this sloka, సర్వభూతస్థమాత్మానం సర్వభూతాని చాత్మని ఈక్షతే యోగయుక్తాత్మ సర్వత్ర సమదర్శన. Meaning, such a yogi worships Paramatma as residing in all beings around and feels the pains of others as his own. Such a yogi is a Srashta, that is, an accomplished person. To Arjuna's query about the difficulty one faces in achieving equanimity in all circumstances in his life, Bhagavan, while agreeing to the difficulty in controlling the mind from being unsteady and restless, indicates that it is possible by a concerted effort of abhyasa, that is practice, along with an attitude of vairagya, that is a detachment. To another query from Arjuna about the fate of a person who, even though having faith in the practice of yoga, but because of no control over his mind at the time of departure from this world, he fails in his attempt to achieve the supreme goal. Bhagavan clarifies, such a person will be born again in the house of the pure, and with the knowledge acquired in his former birth, strives more for his good and succeeds in attaining the supreme goal. Bhagavan finally says in this sloka, yoginamapi sarvesham madgate nantratmana saddhavan bhajte yomam same yukta tamomadha. Meaning, Bhagavan says, one who always worships him with intense faith and bhakti, that is devotion, and with intellect fixed on him, is a Paramasreshta, that is the most acclaimed person. Here, friends, starts my viewpoint on Bhagavan's message in this chapter. After hearing to Bhagavan's message, we find that his message helps us, commoners like us, to follow Karma Yoga fruitfully so as to achieve the goal. What is that goal? We know it is to realize the true values of this mortal life and to gain necessary wisdom to sustain that truth. As we remember, in the earlier chapters also, Bhagavan very meticulously laid down before us the essential characteristics or attributes or qualities of a Karma Yogi. What are these qualities? Let us first recap these vital attributes of a Karma Yogi before we try to understand Bhagavan's message of the present chapter. Nishkama karma is the prime requirement, Bhagavan said. That is, while giving us the comfortable feeling that Karma Yoga is an easier path compared to Sankhya Yoga, Bhagavan stressed that a Karma Yogi needs to perform actions without an expectation on end result. This, if you remember, we heard from Bhagavan in the sloka of chapter 2. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalhetur bhuhu mate sangostu karmani. Next important attribute of a Karma Yoga is non-doership, that is, no doership, which Bhagavan has said in this sloka of chapter 4. Karmanya karmaya pasyet akarmanya karmaya sa buddhiman manusheshu sayukta kusna karmakut. That is, a Karma Yogi does actions always with a feeling of non-doership. That is, he should feel inaction in action, coupled with a feeling of action in inaction. Next attribute is equanimity, which Bhagavan mentioned in this sloka of chapter 2. Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna sukadukadaha agama payino nichyaha tasya tishyasu bharata. That is, in Karma Yoga, one needs to maintain equanimity in all possible pairs of happenings in this life, favorable or unfavorable. In this sloka, Bhagavan also advised us for tolerating these twin possibilities in life bravely. Indeed, about this equanimity, in this present chapter, Atma Sanyama Yoga also, Bhagavan conveyed about this important quality of a Karma Yogi in this sloka. Hitatmanah prasantasya Paramatma samahitha Sitosha sukdukkeshu tatha manapmanayoho. That is, a Karma Yogi exhibits always an attitude of equanimity in times of sorrow or joy, and in favorable circumstances or otherwise, and is always steadfast in the contemplation of Paramatma. Now we come to the final attribute, a quality of a Karma Yogi. This we heard from Bhagavan in chapter 4. That is about the need for a control of our mind, indriyas and body. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchana samsayam atmavantam na karmani nimadhante dhananjaya. That is, Bhagavan has said in this sloka, about this final quality of a Karma Yogi. That is, a Karma Yogi needs to do Vihita Karmas, that is, dutiful actions, with control over the mind, intellect, while leaving the results of his actions to Paramatma only. This final quality, friends, may look like same as Nishkam Karma. That is the first attribute. But we should not miss what Bhagavan implied more in this sloka. What is that? It is the vital or main requirement for a Karma Yogi. That is, it is to gain control over one's mind and sense organs. So, if we collect them together, all these qualities together, we have the required attributes of a Karma Yogi. What are they? First one is Nishkam Karma. Second, no doership. Third one, equanimity. Fourth one, control over mind and sense organs. So, we received the holy lesson about Karma Yoga in very clear terms from Bhagavan, the divine teacher. Of course, we also no doubt understood his lesson, but the main thing remained. What is it? How to practice this Karma Yoga? This question, friends, I am posing right earnest to myself, just a commoner. While we bow our heads in reverence and gratefulness to Paramatma for showing us the correct and maybe the only path what we mortals can follow, but how to adapt ourselves to this Karma Yoga? Suppose, is it easy to follow Nishkam Karma? Similarly, is it easy for us mere mortals to always maintain equanimity in all circumstances? But we find in the present chapter, Atma Samya Yoga, that Bhagavan bestowed on us the means also, that is the ways to acquire these qualities and become a true Karma Yogi while remaining as a simple householder. Bhagavan gave us the first rule in this sloka of the present chapter. Yadahi nendriyardheshu na karmasanu sajjate sarvasankalpa sannyasi yoga rudastha dochite. Meaning, it is the renunciation of all sankalpas, thoughts, which is required while we go through our actions in this life. That is, we need to arrest our thoughts while doing actions. Of course, importantly, without thinking of the end results. Here, Patanjali Yoga Sutra in Samadhipada comes to our minds immediately. That sutra is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, meaning one should try to, or for restriction of chitta, that is mind stuff, from taking various vrittis, that is thoughts. Another important aspect Bhagavan wishes us to know. One needs to lift himself by one's own self. This Bhagavan very succinctly or clearly and strongly has stated in this sloka of the present chapter. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadiyet atmeva hatmano bandhu atmeva ripratmanaha. Meaning, Bhagavan says, we need to develop control in the prime instruments, that is our body, mind and indriyas, so that they help us in our goal, that is to be on the path of true Karma Yogi while going through our daily actions. In the case of no control over these devices, Bhagavan says, the very instruments turn foe-like, that is body, mind and indriyas all become enemies and hinder or hold our progress. Here, friends, we need to stop a while and muse or ponder over this Bhagavan's revelation on the importance of controlling our mind and senses. Friends, is it not true that we have one general habit? Thinking that we are following good habits, doing pujas, manasa, karmana, vacha, that is by mind, action and speeches, doing good deeds, then we often start demanding from the invisible Paramatma or some Samaritan to help us and to come to our rescue in our difficulties. This is our weakness. But from Bhagavan's statement, what we need to firmly hammer it into our weak minds is we ourselves need to tune or help ourselves, particularly in elevating ourselves onto this plane of spiritual knowledge and putting ourselves onto the path of Karma Yoga. For this, Bhagavan's prime advice is about the need to control our body and mind and indriya. Now the remedy, what you are waiting for all along, Bhagavan has given in this sloka. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasya ekaki yata chittatma nirasira parigraha. What is this golden remedy? Bhagavan says in this sloka, we need to practice dhyana, that is meditation, that is constantly try to concentrate our minds on the Supreme Self, remaining in solitude and aiming at withdrawal of the body, indriyas and mind from the worldly objects. To be frank with ourselves, This Bhagavan's advice may look formidable, and to commoners like us, it may even look it is easier said than done. But friends, we should get out of this weakness of putting obstacles ourselves in our path. Bhagavan, no doubt, as a true teacher, has been all along encouraging us about the less difficult path of Karma Yoga, and now he has given us the means and ways of achieving the supreme goal. You must know that everything needs an effort. We should not pretend to be so naive and helpless. A true achievement is possible only by sacrifice, mentally or physically. If you remember, Bhagavan, like a true teacher, hinted about the importance of this meditation at the end of last chapter, that is Karma Sannyas Yoga itself. This sloka reads as Sparsan Krutva Bahir Bahyan Chachus Chevantare Bhruvoho Pranapanau Samo Krutva Nasabhyantara Charinau. This is about the required meditative posture for doing jhana, that is meditation. Carrying the same meaning, Bhagavan in the present chapter also has explained about the required posture for meditation and its practice in the following two slokas. The first sloka is Tatre Kagram Manakrutva Yata Chittendra Kriyaha Upavishwasane Unjat Yogamatma Suddhi. The second sloka reads Samam Kai Siro Grivam Dhariyanna Chalam Sthirha Samprecha Nasikagram Swam Disachar Navalohyan. In these slokas, Bhagavan vividly describes the meditative posture. One needs to firmly place himself on a clean seat in solitude, desist from all thoughts, keep the mind and senses under control, hold the body, head and neck erect, remain steady, keep his gaze on the tip of his nose without any distraction, keep himself perfectly calm and achieve purification of mind and intellect. Here, we should also listen to Bhagavan when he clarified Arjuna's doubt about the difficulty in controlling the mind and fixing it in meditation. This is in fact our doubt also. Bhagavan knows this and rightly clarified in the following sloka. The sloka reads Ashamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigram Chalam Abhyasena Kaunteya Vairagyena Cha Gujyate. With the meaning, the medicine to surmount this difficulty in controlling our wavering minds is first one is constant practice, second one is firm determination, and third one is a sense of vairagya, that is a sense of detachment. Like a real teacher and with a lot of consideration about the possible pitfalls that we may get into during this meditative path, Bhagavan very rightly mentioned about the need for maintaining proper eating and sleeping habits. So, finally, in Bhagavan's advice in this chapter, it is implied that we should go about our daily actions and at the same time to be constantly in a mood of meditation. This golden habit we need to develop as a true disciple. That is, we need to become a Sankhya yogi within our own little living places. When this control over our mind and indriyas is possible, Bhagavan says we will be able to reach a state of quietude or tranquility, and one can realize union with the Supreme Paramatma and enjoy the eternal and atindriya bliss, that is supersensuous bliss. In this chapter, the final advice from Bhagavan to the following sloka is highly significant. Yoginamapi sarvesham madgate nantratmana saddhavan bhajte yomam samaya yukta tamo madha. That is, in this sloka, if you notice, in addition to his earlier remedy of meditation in following Karma Yoga, Bhagavan has in a subtle way hinted a added means of achieving the supreme goal. What Bhagavan said in this sloka? He is urging us or encouraging us to develop bhakti, that is devotion, and stay connected with Paramatma with a steady and firm faith in him. Thus, in this chapter, for simple mortals like us, Bhagavan has given us two portions, that is remedies. We can definitely take them as magic potions. What are they? Nurturing jhana or meditation, and developing bhakti or devotion towards Paramatma so as to become a true karma yogi while still remaining as a mere householder and cultivating the associated qualities nishkam karma, equanimity, non-doership and control over our mind and senses. In the subsequent chapters, we naturally will find, friends, Bhagavan dwells more on this topic of bhakti or devotion we need to develop towards Paramatma. And to realize this, Bhagavan Sri Krishna also narrates in the coming chapters very interestingly on his all pervading effervescence in this mortal world. He is within us and all around us, which we all need to recognize and always be aware of. In this context, he will also tell us on how to know about him, how to understand him, and how we can perceive him in this mortal world. So for this to know, one needs to attend to Bhagavan Sri Krishna's message in the latter chapters. This ends my viewpoint on the present chapter. Here friends, I wish to say about a Vishesh Sukti or a special word which is a connected and an illuminating thought from an Upanishad and a writing by an eminent personality. Also, it is connected with the message given by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this chapter. Here, the Vishesh Sukti is a Jnana Sloka from Dakshinamurti Stotram written in Sanskrit by Adi Shankaracharya. This sloka is about non-verbal communication of Atma Sanyamam, that is oneness with the Supreme Self, by Sin Mudra shown in the insert here. This sloka implies a salutation to Dakshinamurti, the God incarnate, who sits still, serenely in Sin Mudra and is surrounded by disciples. This sloka reads as Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varsishtanteva Sadrushiganaihi Avrutam Brahmanistaihi Acharyendram Karakalita Chinmudramanandarupam Swatma Ramam Muditavadanam Sri Dakshinamurti Mide Sri Dakshinamurti Mide. Meaning of this sloka is salutations are being paid to Sri Dakshinamurti, the young guru or teacher, whose exposition through his profound silence is awakening the knowledge of the Supreme Self or Supreme Atman in the hearts of his disciples. His disciples are themselves rishis, or sages, and scholars in Vedas. Dakshinamurti is the teacher of teachers. Salutations are being paid to him, to this great teacher, whose hand is held in the sign of knowledge, that is Sin Mudra, and whose appearance is blissful and still, that is without movement, and who is rejoicing within his self, and which is reflected on his blissful face. This is the meaning of this sloka. His disciples got enlightened by the silent communication from their guru, teacher. We need to understand the sublime meaning contained in the Sin Mudra. The Sin Mudra implies, as we can see from the figure in the insert, the index finger signifies Jivatma, which is surrounded by Moha or Mithya or Maya, that is delusion, and who normally wishes to join the body, mind and indriyas indicated in the figure by the three straight fingers. The thumb signifies Paramatma, the Paramapurusha, that is the Supreme Soul. Thus, the Sin Mudra in the figure stands for the non-verbal communication through silence by Dakshinamurti, advising his disciples to give up the natural tendency of identifying oneself with the body, mind and indriyas, but try to merge with Paramatma, thus perceiving the divinity within and attaining Atma Sanyamam, the self-realization, and thus the eternal bliss. Before I leave friends and join again, I wish to say a few words on Sant Surdas, an irrefutable and undisputable exponent of Bhakti philosophy during the period of 15th century. He was born blind, and because of this he faced a lot of difficulties, and even he was looked down upon by his own people. But since his younger days, Sant Surdas was endowed with a very sharp intellect, and having knowledge of the scriptures, he used to compose verses on Lord Krishna and enjoyed singing. Surdas' guru is Sri Vallabhacharya, who taught him lessons on philosophy and meditation and put him on the path of spirituality. Surdas was among those saints in that era who preferred devotion and love to ritualistic worship as a means to connect with the divine. He influenced the Bhakti movement, and his hymns are also mentioned in Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of Sikhs. The most famous work written by Surdas is Sur Sagar, that is Ocean of Melody, which contained hundreds thousands of songs, but many of which are extinct now and only few only are available. He also wrote Sur Saravani and Sai Chalahari, the devotional lyrics dedicated to the Supreme Lord. Surdas was not only a composer but also a singer like Tyagaraja and Annamaya, who are from South India and are notable for their beautiful and soulful compositions as well as for their divine singing. The beautiful songs of Surdas are a window to his soul. He loved Lord Krishna dearly and wanted nothing but union with Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He lived a long life and wrote many songs in praise of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. His songs are sung to this day. The most popular song, friends, you may be knowing, Maiya Mori Mai Nahi Makhan Khayo. In another popular song, we find that the theme is a sincere request to Lord Krishna to erase or about his imperfections, that negative thoughts from his mind. He goes on requesting the Lord to take him under his shelter. With this theme, the song fills our hearts. I try to sing only a few lines of the song here. Prabhu more avaguno chit na dharo. Prabhu more avaguno chit na dharo. Samadharasi hai नाम तिहारो समदरसी है नाम तिहारो चाहो तो पार करो प्रभु मोरे अवगुण चित ना डरो. In these lines, Surdas says, O Lord, please don't look at my evil qualities. O Lord, you are known as an embodiment of equanimity and as the one who shows benevolence on all equally. Please help me to cross this ocean of existence at your will. In the following lines, Surdas says, a piece of iron is in the form of an idol in a temple, and the other a knife in the hands of a butcher. But the goldsmith's stone knows no difference, since it turns both into gold. Surdas requests the Lord not to look at his evil qualities. एक लोहा पूजा में राखत एक घर बधिक परो. एक लोहा पूजा में राखत एक घर बधिक परो. सौ दुविधा पारस नहीं जानत सौ दुविधा पारस नहीं जानत कंचन करत करो. प्रभु मोरे अवगुण चित ना धरो. प्रभु मोरे अवगुण चित ना धरो. समदरसी है नाम तिहारो. समदरसी है नाम तिहारो. चाहो तो पार करो. प्रभु मोरे अवगुण चित ना धरो. प्रभु मोरे अवगुण चित ना धरो. For a devotee with his whole heart filled with pure devotion and his thoughts always reposed only on Paramatma, we find only one tone rings in his songs. What is that tone? It is a heart-rending and heart-wrenching despondency or helplessness and is a tone of total surrender. Like Surdas ji, we know there were many such devotees in our past. Bhakta Jayadeva, Meera Devi, Sant Tulsidas, Kabir Das, Annamacharya, Sant Namdeva and many others. Their lives had been fulfilled and became memorable and will remain as beacons of light to all mankind forever. With these words, I remain.